blood on the hands of the Trump administration? Absolutely. Everybody at the national level, state, local, there's a lot of blood to go around for the lack of response to this disease. We are always at threat for the next pandemic. These viruses exist out in nature. As people go out in nature, they get infected and they move their way back into humans.
If we were to imagine the origins of COVID-19 as a movie, it would begin at the end of the Contagion movie. Exactly that process of bulldozing down the forest, bats flying off, infecting livestock, that then we get infected. That happens every day, every week. That's how these things begin. Wuhan is a major hub on the wildlife trade pathway. It's close to hotspot areas for new coronaviruses.
Ever since the COVID pandemic hit, we've been trying to determine if anybody knew anything about a contagion sweeping through Wuhan last fall, and when did they know it.
Researchers looked at satellite photos of Wuhan hospitals in October of 2019, and what they show are packed parking lots. All those red dots are cars. And we took those photos and we put them next to October of 2018, mirror images, and you can clearly see in some cases there are 50 to 90% more cars. That shows that those hospitals were busy during this time. Then they found another clue when they looked at Baidu. That's the Google search engine for China. During this time, there was an increase in searches for terms like cough and diarrhea, two symptoms of COVID-19. Now, this is 3 months before China announces that they have a problem with the coronavirus. Clearly, something was happening in Wuhan.
On the 29th of October, we flew to Wuhan to start the river part of the cruise on the Yangtze. We were very excited. We had not ever been to Wuhan. At the time, it seemed weird. The treatment of us on this particular city was different than other cities we'd been in on this tour. We're lined up to get onto the ship. They really emphasized, stay in line. You don't have time to go wander anywhere. And once we were on the ship, nobody was allowed to get off. Having 150 Western tourists from UK, Australia, Canada, United States get sick and trace back to Wuhan might have not been a good idea. We were immediately told that we would be leaving, and bing, bang, boom, we were gone.
So I was at home with my wife and a couple of friends. We were cooking a dinner and celebrating the New Year's.
I was snuggled on the couch with my sons, watching the ball drop in New York.
They say close to 1.5 million people gathered here tonight.
It was the first time in a long time that I had an opportunity to get the whole family back together. And I did get a phone call from my colleagues at CDC that there was a mysterious new pneumonia that appeared not to be flu.
You have a brand new virus that's jumped species from an animal to a human.
And immediately that was an alarm bell.
It was clear the threat was real and the threat was serious.
On New Year's Eve, if someone had told me a pandemic was coming, it wouldn't have surprised me. The world was overdue, for one. And that's what's always kept me up at night.
It is the perfect storm and my worst nightmare.
The end of 2019 into 2020, the Trump White House wasn't focused on a global pandemic, but frankly, nobody was in Washington.
We do have breaking news tonight. President Trump has just been impeached.
First of all, the president had just been impeached. We were going into an impeachment trial.
Quite frankly, we were focused on Iran that first week.
The stunning sight, millions of Iranians taking to the streets, demanding revenge for the killing of their top military leader.
There is a lot going on that is consuming all attention, the president's attention, the Democrats' attention in Congress, the military's attention, beyond a global pandemic.
Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus behind a pneumonia outbreak in the central city of Wuhan.
There were reports of unexplained pneumonia cases in Wuhan, China. There were images emerging of people in hazmat suits spraying down a seafood market. It kind of gave me a bit of a chill.
Reading about people being locked into apartment buildings, streets being closed off, entire cities being cordoned, that is a signal of how serious this pathogen was.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Have a great year.
As we ring in the new year, President Trump is in Florida at Mar-a-Lago.
When we wrote up our first situation report on January 1st, I had my first meetings to discuss this with the National Security Council on January 2nd.
What's not publicly known is that behind the scenes, in the presidential daily brief, there's information being put in telling the president that there's something strange happening in the Wuhan region of China.
We felt that this had potential to be a very serious situation that had national security implications.
Dr. Redfield at the CDC, he's on the phone with Dr. Fauci.
It was zing bang back and forth. Both of us agreed that this looks, smells, and almost certainly is a new coronavirus. And the question is, what are we going to do about it?
Is this a pathogen that goes from animals to humans? Or is this a pathogen that went from human to human?
Bob was trying to get information in real time, exactly what was going on over there. The frustration is that he wanted to get his team there and to go to Wuhan and find out what was going on, but the Chinese were not allowing that.
I had strongly suggested that we send some CDC folks in to help out, and the president actually made the request to President of China that we'd be able to come and assist.
And the Chinese are stonewalling. They're not letting them have access to the key sites.
We had literally, 20, 30 people ready to go.
The fact that they were not allowed to go there in real time and see what was going on was very disconcerting to us.
So on January 8th, the CDC issues its first health alert connected to the pandemic.
And President Trump heads to Ohio, where he holds this big rally.
Make America great again.
No, the president didn't publicly predict any danger.
And America's future has never, ever looked brighter.
In early January, China hasn't released the genome or the genetic map of the virus.
You need the genome of the virus to develop tests and drugs and vaccines, and there were significant delays in sharing it with the world.
On January 12th, the Chinese government, after resisting American requests for information, releases the genetic sequence of the virus.
All right, all hands on deck. We got to make a vaccine because we don't know where this is going. There's a lot of unknowns.
It was just a matter of time before it arrived in the United States. To think otherwise would be completely naive.
Okay, 180, maintain 5,000, 2,000, local hours cleared hours, and I want picture approach.
On January 15th, a man landed at the Seattle airport.
He was in his 30s, pre-existing medical problems. He traveled to visit family in Wuhan, China.
He took a rideshare car home from the airport, and right away the next day, he started feeling sick.
After a few days of feeling poorly at home, he came to one of our clinics. He basically said, I've recently traveled to Wuhan. I've got a cough and a fever, and I'm concerned I might have coronavirus. They contacted the local health officer who recommended testing. They also involved the CDC to run the case through them. At that point,
We were not allowed to test at state public health, and local public health departments were not able to test either. So if we wanted a patient tested, we had to first receive approval or clearance from the CDC. We had to make a case that the patient met their very strict criteria.
So patient 0, his sample had to be flown overnight to the CDC lab in Atlanta, and he was told to quarantine. He was sent home.
It was a big surprise when we got the call.
The test was positive. It was January 20th. Patient 0 had been identified, and now officially COVID-19 was on American soil.
President Trump is at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he answers for the first time on whether he's worried about the growing pandemic in China.
We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It's going to be just fine.
Well, I never thought it would be just fine, because I didn't think we were doing what was necessary to make it just fine.
The administration were still saying this was a problem overseas.
This is a serious health situation in China, but I want to emphasize that the risk to the American public currently is low. I think in January and February, there was a sense that we still had this under control.
January was really our opportunity as a country to contain this virus before it spread like wildfire. And that opportunity was missed.
At this point, COVID-19 is on American shores. Question is, was there a plan for the federal government to deal with the pandemic? And it turns out that successive administrations previously had already laid the groundwork for pandemic response.
Yeah, President Bush deserves a lot of credit for what he did in 2005.
In August 2005, President Bush goes to Crawford, Texas, to his ranch for what is supposed to be a long vacation. And he reads a book about the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic by John Barry. And it freaks him out.
Sometime prior to the spring of 1918, an animal virus killed between 50 and 100 million people.
And he sees Barry talking about how these pandemics happen every 100 years or so. You have something massive like this. And he's looking at the calendar.
We'll hear all of this soon.
President Bush knows personal experience that things he did not anticipate can happen and can cause severe damage and kill a lot of people. 9/11, Katrina, could the next big one be a global pandemic?
By then, we'd already had the SARS experience, and then so-called bird flu, which was pretty scary. That's a pretty good reason to get your attention.
He challenged us to come up with a government-wide, national, not just federal government, strategy for dealing with it should it happen.
The President of the United States.
They get Congress to appropriate money, real money, $7 billion behind this plan.
If we wait for a pandemic to appear, it will be too late to prepare. One day, many lives could be needlessly lost because we failed to act today.
So there was a robust national response. As with all outbreaks, we got the periodic increase in interest in public health, infectious diseases, health security, and then eventually interest would wane, and then you see a decrease in funds. So it's a usual bust and boom cycle for public health, unfortunately.
Tonight, outbreak, a new and deadly strain of flu.
The Obama administration has to deal with an outbreak almost immediately after Obama becomes president.
Every American should know that their entire government is taking the utmost precautions and preparations.
It's dealt with pretty quickly. And you go back to the cycle of complacency. There are other problems that are more pressing. But 5 years later, 2014, Ebola.
An outbreak of a disease so fierce, so deadly, even the word strikes terror.
This scares the hell out of everybody.
President Obama and Vice President Biden have authorized unprecedented whole-of-government response to the Ebola crisis. And the good news is that we're starting to see some results from that.
When I was winding up my work on Ebola, I met with the president and said to him, we need to build a permanent structure at the White House.
The funding we're asking for is needed to prevent and deal with future outbreaks and threats before they become epidemics.
And he set up a pandemic prevention office in the National Security Council to get us ready for that more deadly, more dangerous, more rapidly spreading epidemic that was going to come to this country someday.
Donald Trump takes office. He has some people in his national security apparatus who served under President Bush, who see this also as a significant issue.
More turnover in this White House than any other administration in recent history.
The challenge is when you
have had as many turnovers in this administration, a lot of that work that would have been done during the transition has been lost.
But eventually, President Trump's third national security advisor, John Bolton, decides to do away with the section of the National Security Council that specifically deals with pandemics, just eliminates it. Now, the Trump administration says they were just streamlining the National Security Council and that some of those staffers were reassigned but continued to work on the issue of pandemic preparedness. It's not like the government stops worrying about a global pandemic, but make no mistake, at this point, this is not a major priority in the Trump administration.
One thing that the Obama administration left was a pandemic playbook. And on page 9 of the pandemic playbook, it said, hey, here's something to worry about, a coronavirus. I don't know if the Trump administration didn't pay attention to the playbook. I don't know if they didn't read it. What we do know is they didn't run the plays in that playbook. It would have made a big difference if they had.
What's eerie about an outbreak, every outbreak I've run, is that in the beginning it's always quiet.
In February, the country was going along its way.
On February 1st, the Surgeon General even tweeted, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Risk is low for the coronavirus, but it's high for the flu."
February 1st, President Trump, he's at Mar-a-Lago.
He's playing golf. He's hosting a Super Bowl party.
The first thing he does in February is that he bans travel to and from China.
The U.S. is closing the door to slow the spread of novel coronavirus.
And he then goes on to basically brag about it on Fox News.
Coronavirus, how concerned are you?
Well, we pretty much shut it down coming in from China. It was a good idea to do travel restrictions from China because it was clear that that's the source that was seeding us.
The truth is that travel ban was probably already too late when it was put into place.
And the world didn't know it, but the virus had already jumped continents because of that commerce very early on.
As February develops, the president proceeds to downplay the virus.
You know, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat.
But behind the scenes, a group of people, current and former senior federal government officials, top doctors, are engaged in a series of email chains called Red Dawn.
I had seen the movie, yes, a pretty good, cheesy 1980s classic.
Our group has been referred to as the Wolverines. You know, I guess we're the group in the movie that saved the United States.
These signs were out there pretty early, and the surprise to us was that folks weren't learning this out of the official channels that should have been broadcasting that information. On my email, some Pentagon officials had essentially written off this pandemic as a bad flu. And so this was my somewhat tongue-in-cheek response to that. And I described Napoleon's retreat from Moscow, just a little stroll gone bad, Pompeii, a bit of a dust storm, and Wuhan, just a bad flu season.
The Red Dawn group ultimately becomes fixated on a cruise ship in the Far East, the Diamond Princess, because of an outbreak of the coronavirus on board.
Today, 70 new cases of the virus have been confirmed on board the ship.
Reading from the Red Dawn email chain, which Dr. Carter Metcher noted, the case count aboard that cruise ship is now up to 136. This is unbelievable. We're so far behind the curve.
So the Diamond Princess was one red flag amongst a sea of red flags at that point of what we should have been doing as Americans to be prepared. As you know, in those early days, we still had not ramped up testing in the United States.
When there's a new pathogen like this, you know, the CDC sets out to develop a test.
That's routinely what we do, and we do it very well, which they did, and they did it in record time, 7 to 10 days.
And initially, we were all flooded with relief. We can test.
And they immediately came across a problem. The initial samples that came from the CDC that was sent out didn't work, so they had to call them back.
And so the CDC then had to send out a second batch of test kits, which also had a problem. And as the weeks ticked by, we were running out of time to contain the spread of this virus, and we knew it.
It took us about close to 4 to 5 weeks to figure out the contamination. And within 5 weeks, we got the test to the health departments throughout the nation, which I would still say is pretty record time.
In an outbreak scenario, every day matters. Our chances to contain this virus were gone.
We could have brought in the gigantic manufacturers of diagnostic tests, and our failure to take that approach with a homegrown test out of CDC has cost us lives.
I don't think CDC will manufacture tests in the future. I think what we'll do is we'll contract a manufacturer to manufacture the tests.
This was pretty much the most critical time in the outbreak for us to be flying blind. The virus was seeding America, and sadly, lives were lost.
On Valentine's Day weekend, I was part of a number of square dancing events where I and many others contracted COVID-19. If we had known, we could have taken some precautions, or we might have been able to cancel, or we might have done something different. Within 2 weeks, the first person in the square dance community would be dead. It was a very sad time. And it still is. Because these people were good people. And they were my friends. And they were taken from us.
By the middle of February, the federal government was only processing about 100 COVID-19 tests a day. Meanwhile, alarm bells are ringing all around the world.
So far, 454 cruise passengers have been infected.
And then as February developed, President Trump held a series of campaign rallies.
I think it's going to work out fine. I think when we get into April and the warmer weather, that has a very negative effect on that.
Near the end of February, some of the testing becomes more available.
The CDC began to ship out the new version of the test.
In Kirkland, Washington, Dr. Francis Rito decides he's going to randomly test 2 of his patients. And shockingly, they both come back as positive for coronavirus.
I knew this was the event. This was now the beginning. Everything changed at that point.
And that's when we first started realizing the first community spread that was not related to an identifiable source.
Without a doubt, February was a lost month for this nation's response.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Meanwhile, the CDC is confirming the first COVID-19 death in the United States.
The disconnect between what the president was saying and what we knew to be the science, it was frightening.
Obviously, there was a failure of leadership in dealing with this pandemic, without question.
It was too late. The outbreaks were already out of control. There was no way to stop it at that point. We missed our chance to contain it.
There was a parade of ambulances coming from Life Care.
Tonight, coronavirus spreading in the U.S. The death toll now rising.
This disease is running rampage through this facility.
A state of emergency issued in Washington state.
March is the month that we will never forget. That's when the pandemic really hit our shores and things started to explode.
My mom was living at Life Care Center of Kirkland in February of 2020.
Officials in Washington losing patients with the nursing home where most of the fatalities from the coronavirus occurred.
And CDC hadn't shown up on the scene yet to be a support. Staff clearly wasn't able to deal with it, and I got a phone call from the nurse saying that Mom had passed.
Doctor said, how do you know so much about this? Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president.
There wasn't a lot of urgency, and that's where leadership becomes really critical.
So we're part of dealing with this crisis, not leading it at that time, but obviously in support, and it was my belief that this would have to be a bigger response.
If the virus is in China, didn't someone expect that the virus was going to get on a plane and travel?
And it did. And it wasn't in China anymore. It went to Europe, and it went to Italy, and it went to France.
Tonight, the World Health Organization declaring it a global pandemic.
The NBA overnight suspending its season until further notice.
Breaking at this hour, the financial markets in free fall, the worst day since Black Monday crash of 1987.
My fellow Americans, to keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
He misstated the nature of the travel restriction. He said he was banning everyone. And that led to a panic. It led to thousands and thousands of people coming back from Europe who didn't need to come back.
People ended up in those crowded hallways for a long period of time. And many were exposed and reportedly have passed because of their exposure waiting and to clear customs.
And by the time we realized your threat and shut down travel to Europe, there was already probably 2 or 3 weeks of 60,000 people coming back every day from Europe.
I'm a registered nurse and I work in an emergency department in New York City. There was not enough tests to test everybody that wanted a test.
The U.S. badly trailed the world in March on the testing situation.
The situation with the CDC and the testing had become so extreme that by March 13th, on the Red Dawn email chain, Dr. James Lawler sounded the alarm. How are you supposed to know when you have community transmission when they haven't been able to provide a diagnostic assay that can be used widely and at high volume?
We were talking to everybody that we could find to communicate why we were concerned and what we thought we needed to be doing as a nation.
We always knew that there were a lot more cases out there than we were diagnosing. 23% of people in New York City have antibodies. So a quarter of New York City was infected with this virus.
It was inevitable that this novel coronavirus would show up in New York City. What they didn't expect was that it would be transmitted silently in the population, and then they had no tests.
Anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. They have the tests. And the tests are beautiful.
It's not true, because tests are physical objects. We can count them. We didn't have enough.
When the pandemic first began, I chose not to stay home because my bills still had to be paid, and I'm a grocery worker, and that's what I do.
What was needed was a way to make essential work safer. Estimates are that something like 40% of the workforce continued working. Essential workers were at the end of that long line.
Everybody want to know, hey, how can I get tested? Where can I get tested?
March 12th, I get put in charge of testing. It had been decided at some point in time, not in this administration, that test supplies were not going to be part of the stockpile. So when I looked to see what was there was nothing there. There was no game plan. There was nothing.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
Across America, almost 22,000 schools shuttered, forcing 15 million kids to stay home.
Major areas of American life shutting down to stop the spreading coronavirus.
There's images of healthcare workers in other countries that are fighting this virus wearing full-on hazmat bunny suits. Meanwhile, here, we are wearing garbage bags and week-old N95s. I did not feel protected. I did not feel safe.
We need those masks, those gowns, gloves, and we need them now.
One of the things that people don't realize is that the manufacturer of personal protection equipment, or PPE, the majority of that production is offshore, not in the United States.
So we're going to put out an executive order today. New York State on pause.
The Defense Production Act, or DPA, allows the federal government to order manufacturers to produce the supplies needed.
And the calls are growing louder by the day for President Trump to invoke this act. But he was really hesitant to do it.
He's used it 600 times as president. When there's something he wants to do, he's willing to use that power.
And whatever the states can get, they should be getting. I say we're sort of a backup for the states. And some of the states are doing really well, and some don't do as well.
The president's position was the states were in charge. States, the governors, the governors, the governors. You know, I'm calling China to buy PPE. Every governor is calling China to buy masks. Right? It made no sense.
What do we need? PPE! What do we need? Nurses were getting put on ventilators. We were dying. And what angers me the most, I think, is that these deaths were 100% preventable.
FEMA says we're sending 400 ventilators. Really? What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die because you only sent 400 ventilators. Where's the PPEs? Where are they? President said it's a war. It is a war. Well, then act like it's a war.
Typically, the world production of ventilators is about 30,000 ventilators a year, which sounds like a lot, but when you're in a pandemic, and every country in the world is looking for PPE and ventilators, it doesn't last too long.
So you have 50 states competing to buy the same item. It's like being on eBay with 50 other states bidding on a ventilator.
It should not have been left to each state to figure out what to do. We're all connected. I mean, honestly, this is one nation. We need one response.
The U.S. now has more cases of coronavirus than anywhere in the world. In New York, cases soaring, hospitalizations doubling every 4 days. This packed emergency room at a hospital in New York City, and doctors describing New York hospitals as a war zone.
I had maybe 12, 13 patients, and they were all super critical. They were all dying. And our numbers started to dwindle because nurses started to get sick. Because again, lack of PPE.
This is something that has been talked about and warned about and studied and anticipated by experts in Republican and Democratic administrations for years. Okay, thank you very much. Moments ago, I directed Secretary Azar and Acting Secretary Wolf to use any and all available authority under the Defense Production Act.
Ultimately, he did end up invoking it and forcing some companies to help in this process of making ventilator parts. But at that point, the damage was done. A lot of critics said these ventilators had been needed, and a lot of companies were already, frankly, making them. They didn't need the act to tell them to do it.
And President Trump didn't invoke the DPA for PPE. That was needed the most. And he still hasn't invoked the DPA for that, and it's left essential workers to deal with it themselves.
We're not even at the peak yet. The death toll just keeps rising and rising.
My mom was goofy. Like, she was really fun to be around. March 18th, she woke up, she wasn't feeling well. Her first thought was that it could possibly be COVID. When I went to see her, she looked like she was deteriorating. I spoke with her doctor, and he just pretty much just flat out like, you know, this isn't gonna turn out well. Just hearing those words, like, just put me just in a horrible place. She was 63, and she was healthy. She was healthy.
Local jurisdictions, not the federal government, start noting that they're seeing big racial, ethnic disparities in mortality.
While this pandemic is impacting every one of us, it isn't impacting everyone equally.
The headlines about the disparities were beginning at the end of March.
Among Chicagoans with COVID-19, more than half are African Americans.
70% of all the deaths in Louisiana are of African Americans.
80% of Washingtonians who have died from this disease are African American.
Thank you very much. It's showing up very strongly in our data on the African American community, and we're doing everything in our power to address this challenge. It's a tremendous challenge. It's terrible.
It should not have been surprising. Historically, we do know that minority populations, low-income populations are at increased risk for exposure during a pandemic. We saw it with Hurricane Katrina. We saw it with H1N1. We published it in 2009. and targeted, tailored interventions to reach the most vulnerable. You don't stigmatize these populations. You enable them to follow the recommendations of staying home.
My administration is closely monitoring the data on the virus's impact on our cherished African American communities.
The president said he was concerned about this. His task force said they were concerned about this. But I can never get the sense that there was any significant action plan.
Well, the whole thing, from the federal point of view, has been failure to take responsibility.
We put out a civil rights bulletin to make sure that the resources that we delivered to those impacted by COVID-19 was done in a fair way. I think we're pretty proactive.
The role of the federal government in this pandemic is very, very clear. It's missing leadership that mirrors the diversity of the United States population. When you see that, then we probably see different outcomes.
I don't think we've made enough progress in dealing with disparities in health. In order for African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans to respond to any kind of challenge to their health, like a pandemic,
Those deaths could have been prevented. And that's the most troubling part.
President Trump just moments ago saying it is time for the next front in this war. It is time to open up America again.
April 16th. Dr. Fauci stand in the White House briefing room and say, here's the plan for reopening.
You go into phase one. If you get no rebound, then you go to phase two. If you have no rebound, you go into phase three.
The next day, the president's tweeting people to ignore his own experts' plan.
Are you more concerned about the economy? It should be the people first, at all costs.
African Americans are a core part of the essential workforce. I think if the data show that high-income whites were contracting the virus at a higher rate, we'll be looking at a different response from government officials across the country.
The reopening, from a health perspective, it was reckless.
Problems of leadership can be very dangerous because it affects how everybody else responds.
So with the masks, I'm choosing not to do it.
And I'm not doing it because I woke up in a free country. President Trump's announcement that he wasn't going to wear one, I think we're still suffering from that. It's all about freedom.
What you see by the end of April is complete chaos.
As coronavirus cases in the U.S. approach 1 million, more states rolling out plans to open up.
When you mix science and politics, you get politics. You're going to get deaths that could have been avoided.
My dad was a first-generation Mexican-American who grew up in the cantaloupe fields. May 15th was when Arizona officially opened up. So my dad, in listening to the advice of people in charge, thought it was safe for him to resume normal activities. On June 11th, my dad woke up with extreme exhaustion, a cough, and a fever. Mark Anthony Urquiza passed away on June 30th. His death is due to the carelessness of the politicians who continue to jeopardize the health of brown bodies through a clear lack of leadership, refusal to acknowledge the severity of the crisis, and inability and unwillingness to give clear and decisive direction on how to minimize risk. If we really want to address structural racism in this country, we need to get real with ourselves about the impact that coronavirus is having on these communities.
Things that we can do now is to try and concentrate resources, testing capabilities, access to care. When we get out of this, we've got to do something about the social determinants of health. That's a long-term problem that we should make a long-term goal.
The man who died while in Minneapolis police custody is George Floyd.
That case exploded into the national consciousness. Thousands of people taking to the street.
We go from this disease is making me not be able to breathe, and to him hollering on that street that he can't breathe. So, and then you look at the climate of the country, I'm saying, look at the correlation.
We essentially had awareness of two sort of important public health events simultaneously. The virus, which we've been experiencing, and the racial pandemic that was with us all along.
We got hit by the virus that came from China. And we've made a lot of progress. Our strategy is moving along well.
When you open, you have to open safely, right? And we never ever got this right. We now have the greatest public health failure in our nation's history.
"99 days after the CDC made its mask recommendation, President Trump wearing a mask in public for the first time.
Florida now has more new cases of coronavirus daily than most countries in the world.
There is a very heated debate underway across this country about schools.
Deaths from the virus now climbing in 27 states as nearly half the country either pauses or reverses reopening.
July is only half over, but it's already been the worst month for coronavirus cases in the U.S.
The story this summer is February and March in the Northeast has become July and August in the Sun Belt, in particular in Florida, in Georgia, in Arizona.
We have made missteps. People are dead because of those missteps.
We were late to the game. The virus had taken hold in the country. There was a lot of lost time.
It's a very challenging thing, the missed opportunities that ultimately led to the deaths.
We've just experienced a systemic failure. We really need to figure out how to prevent this from ever happening again.
In order for every American to participate in the solution, they have to first understand the reality of the threat that we're facing.
Even if we can't seem to get it right in Washington, I would love to see the American citizens come together and say, we're going to fight this. We're going to be united in how we approach this disease.
The current state of affairs is not our destiny. We can get this disease under control using strategies that have been used all over the world successfully. So message number one, mask on, okay? Anytime you're out in public, wear this thing.
It may take sacrifice, but now is the time for sacrifice.
The biggest challenge we face is leadership. The way you tackle a pandemic is by listening to your public health leaders. We're seeing the opposite of that.
Receiving mixed messages from different elected officials is confusing.
It's been a roller coaster, really. In some ways, we're going through the cycles of grief continuously.
If we don't get this under control, we're just going to continue to see these surges and hopscotching across the U.S.
The United States is currently spiking in cases, and the cost of that is human lives.
I want people to enjoy what I do and understand what I'm doing is for their enjoyment. And that's all I can ask for.
Tonight, saying goodbye and celebrating the life of Regis.
Oh, no, I hate memory lane.
Give me somebody who tells
It's a woman!
The man who got us started in the morning for so many years.
His talent was being himself completely and making everybody else the star of the show.
And the one who made millionaires out of everyday people.
He's won $1 million!
The living history of TV. In just one man. What did it take to get the chemistry so right?
No matter what, you don't let your partner fail. And he never let me fail.
His co-host through the years.
She's the one.
The more outrageous.
How are your hemorrhoids? Are you all right?
The more outrageous.
I called him a jerk. He called me one right back, and the sparks flew.
The moments you'll always remember that turned funny business into TV gold.
It's hurting my arm!
Tonight, we're taking you back to where it all began.
Give me the dirt. What was Regis like as a kid?
And to his last interview ever with Jimmy Kimmel.
Regis
No one will ever be better at doing this than you. No one, never.
Tonight, to our favorite funny man, our friend, and even more, our family.
I've got a show to do.
We say farewell. Reporting now, Amy Robach.
Live with Regis and Kelly.
From live to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, his one-of-a-kind wit and warmth brought smiles to viewers for decades. A familiar and welcome household staple. Tonight, tributes are still pouring in for Regis Philbin after his death of natural causes at 88 years old on Friday. From David Letterman, Regis is in the same category as Carson, superlative. To his former co-host Kathy Lee Gifford, Regis, there will never be another. And the Philbin family expressing their gratitude for their time with him and his singular ability to make every day into something worth talking about. And for this broadcast, I was able to spend some time with the last person to sit side by side with Regis on the set of Live, his co-host of 11 years, Kelly Ripa. Regis was a man with such youthful energy. What went through your mind when you heard the news?
There was a moment where I had this incredible hope that it was somehow misreported. I thought, oh, is he going to have a field day making fun of this story? Because it seemed like he was somebody that would be here forever.
When the news finally settled in, who did you think of first?
I thought of Joanna and JJ, his daughters, of course, Joy, who he worshipped. Joy was everything to Regis, absolutely everything. And then my thought went to Kathy Lee. Those were Regis's women.
And now, here's Regis and Kathy Lee.
Hello, everybody. Let me get your umbrella for you, Mr. Philbin. It is great. And when 2020 celebrated his retirement in 2011 with a Katie Couric special, Regis revealed some of the secrets of his success, including a peek at a backstage routine that was virtually the same for nearly 3 decades.
I've got a show to do.
A preview of the day's tape package by 8:30.
Here we go. Roll it.
A newspaper delivery at 8:40, courtesy of his wardrobe consultant, Goldie.
And Goldie's here, his maid.
$7,000 a week. For what? For what?
And at 8:45, a read-in on the rundown by executive producer extraordinaire, Michael Gelman.
Oh my God, Gelman just walked in. He's never been this early, but I guess he heard Jilly say
I had extra camera time if I came early.
Yeah. Okay, what time is it?
30 seconds.
Now, here are Regis Philbin.
Then at 9 a.m. sharp, ready or not, Live went live. Unvarnished, unrehearsed, and unscripted.
What you're looking at here is guerrilla television.
You might say Regis put the real in reality TV.
Well, whatever reality we can make on our show, that to me is interesting, you know.
Frodo.
How are you? Nice to see.
And while on that farewell tour 2011, Regis took Katie out for lunch at his favorite Midtown Manhattan restaurant, Circo.
This is awfully good.
Where they discussed his storied career.
Grazie, Bruno.
After all, he'd been a ubiquitous presence on television for 50 years, shattering his own world record for the most time of anyone on the air. And in case you're keeping score, it now stands at 16,746 and a half hours. From Sportscaster.
John Hufnagel will be the quarterback when the Broncos take the field against the New York Jets Saturday night.
To news anchor.
Today, the White House subpoena hearing is in court again.
To red carpet reporter.
Where'd you get this dress?
Well, I had this dress made just for this.
And how?
I wanted to look like a mom.
Is there anything you wish you had done that you haven't?
I wish I didn't have to wait till I was in my late 50s before the good part of my life started in this business. That's what I regret, that it was kind of a late start for me.
Long before he achieved morning glory, Regis hoped his star would shine in late night, but he spent years learning the ropes on local talk shows from San Diego to St. Louis.
And tomorrow I'll be losing.
He thought he'd hit the jackpot in 1967 when he was asked to be the announcer on the Joey Bishop Show.
Regis Philbin.
How great was that, hearing that a member of the Rat Pack was interested in talking to you as his sidekick?
Yeah, sidekick, yeah. Well, you know what happened? I walked in, and there was Joey in a sweater.
Of course.
Yeah, and he said, I saw you last night. You got a lot of talent. I said, really, Joey? What is my talent? I could never do that now. And I threw it right back, and all of a sudden, I had Joey on the defensive, thinking, what is his talent?
What were you thinking?
And I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't have asked that, But I said, well, this is going to be good. And he took his time, and he stood up, and he finally said, I'll tell you what your talent is. You are a great listener. I said, what? That it?
This coat does something to you. I want you to know it.
He listened to Bishop's banter for 3 years, but competing against Johnny Carson was too tall an order.
Hi, everybody, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
When his dreams of late night faded, Regis was back to pounding the pavement in the daylight, taking jobs like hosting the Disney parade.
Are you still fantasizing?
It would take nearly 2 decades.
What?
A change of coasts.
Now you're talking.
And a series of co-hosts before just the right chemistry made Regis Philbin a reliable fixture on morning television.
Got great legs, Reg. I agree.
And once they meshed, it was magic.
I think you could stay another year.
And you know you've arrived when you're getting the Saturday Night Live treatment.
The wife had me put the tux on, the shoes, and the cummerbund. I don't mind saying I look great.
But Regis's accidental star wouldn't just rise and shine in the morning. In 1999, he hit primetime prominence as host of the ABC juggernaut game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
He just won a million.
When you watched him throughout the years, he made it all seem so effortless, and doing what he did is actually really hard work. What was his talent?
His talent was being himself completely and making everybody else the star of the show. That was his talent. And I think it was his genuine love and appreciation of people. He really was a people person.
Next, the chemistry and the co-hosts. Who got his goat and got the ratings.
I called him a jerk the first week we worked together, and he called me one right back, and the sparks flew.
For years, my kids thought that I was Regis's receptionist. They thought that I was his assistant.
Coming up. Once again, Amy Robach.
In the book of dynamic comedy duos, you'll find Abbott and Costello, Martin and Lewis, Lucy and Ricky, and Regis Philbin with just about anybody who sits beside him.
Did you ever get somebody who just...
It's a woman! A class photo of his former co-host is a collection of leading ladies who learned from the best. The morning maestro himself.
I think I learned from Regis to be authentic on camera.
With his co-host Sarah Purcell, Regis would strike TV gold in a segment called Host Chat.
What is this you're wearing? This looks like early Daniel Boone.
It would be his secret sauce for the next 3 decades.
Exactly my thoughts.
Okay, Regis regaling his co-host with tales from events of the night before.
The last night I went up to Yankee Stadium with some friends. Derek Jeter, first pitch, bang, hits a home run.
No writers and no holds barred.
The whole monologue at the beginning is about what you did the night before, so you don't talk about any of that ahead of time. And it worked. It absolutely worked.
There is something about working with Regis. You really have to expose your personal life. I mean, you talk about everything.
John had a terrible cold, so I...
Oh, the weakest excuse I've ever heard of my John had a cold, and they couldn't talk about marriage?
It was 1980, and his morning brash got the attention of network brass. NBC wanted him, and he wanted Mary Hart.
Mary, how are you? Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, and it's
I'm
nice
walking down Rodeo Drive, and I see a camera crew up the street. I walk by, and all of a sudden, Regis Philbin stands up, interrupts what he's doing, and he goes, "She's the one."
The Regis Philbin show got canceled after just 7 months, but for Mary, it was the chance of a lifetime.
Right here, as Mary steps here and boom, and she's out that window.
He had left this booming, popular show locally to go to the network, and then the rug was pulled out completely from both of us, and I lucked out. I'm Mary Hart for Entertainment Tonight. They came to talk to me about what it feels like to be on a show that's canceled. Great. And the next day they offered me a job. I think he held it against me for a very long time.
Regis moved back to local TV, this time in the Big Apple, trying to find the next big break.
Thank you very much.
He worked with Cindy Garvey and then Ann Abernathy. But in 1985, the maestro met his match. The result? TV dynamite.
Here comes Kathy Lou Johnson.
I put on my sneakers and did the run because I was still doing Good Morning America at the time, and came in all breathless. And
is this the way it's going to be every morning?
I called him a jerk the first week we worked together, and he called me one right back pretty much, and the sparks flew.
Even New York City couldn't contain the fire. On September 5th, 1988, Regis would go national once again, and this time, the shtick would stick.
By the way, I haven't asked you in a while, how are your hemorrhoids? Are you all right? I think in a weird way, if you hate reality television today, you sort of have to blame Reg and myself for that, because we were the first ones that I know of that ever got paid to talk about their lives for a living. You've been wanting to do this for 13 years, haven't you?
This is as close as you're going to ever get, believe me when I tell you.
It seems so real that people actually thought Regis and Kathy Lee were married.
If she don't, she my woman.
Even now, after 11 years of not being with him anymore professionally, Regis will announce his presence as he's coming through the door. That's right, Regis is here. That's right, the king, Regis. Yes, and look who's here. She won't leave me alone.
People very often called me Kathy Lee because we happened to resemble each other. And people would see him with a redhead and think it was, of course, Kathy Lee.
Yesterday we had one of our many crises.
Oh, you mean because we were not speaking?
And we...
The most frequent substitute co-host from 1975 on was Joy Philbin, who shared a lot more than a stage with Regis.
Women have asked me if I have had to deal with any jealousies, because after all, he does spend a lot of time with very beautiful, very smart women. We have been married so long that those worries have sort of dissipated.
No funny business with his co-host, but Regis still managed to create a whole lot of funny.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorites was we were the first ones to put on those sumo wrestling outfits. And I screamed.
Where does the tweet come? I mean, the distance.
The distance?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
You know, the space.
Space bar!
Regis's last live co-host was Kelly Ripa, who landed the role when she was a soap star, working across the street from the live set.
You get your first job hosting in television, sitting next to Regis Philbin. What did you learn from Regis over the years?
I think my biggest takeaway from the 11 years that I shared with him was that you have to be yourself. You cannot be one person on camera and a different person once the audience is gone. You have to be who you are, and no matter what, you don't let your partner fail. And he never let me fail.
You had 2 of your 3 children while you were on the show sitting next to Regis. This amazing footage of Regis babysitting your kids. When you watch that footage back, what goes through your mind?
I got particularly emotional when we saw those clips. There was a moment where Regis is brushing Lola's teeth and she's staring at him. And he said, "You're a genteel little lady."
So you're a genteel little woman, you understand?
And it was the way he spoke to her very softly. And I was like, that's the father of daughters.
What did you do last night? I know you bathed the kids
legendary, to say the least. What was that like?
No matter what, if we were Mary Kate and Ashley, no matter who we were, Regis was always Regis.
Yes. Is that a yes or is that a no?
It didn't matter if he was wearing a wig and a dress. He never broke from Regis. Even when he tried to, if he was, somebody from the Jersey Shore, he was still Regis.
And what a night I had last night.
You were everywhere. And Regis really had this unique ability to draw you in. He would tell a story. You would be on the edge of your seat. You would think, and then Regis is going to save the day. And then he would flip the story on his head, and he would be his own foil in the story.
Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I stood up and George said, "Where are you going?" I said, "To the bathroom, George."
It was just magic.
Thanks, everybody.
Next, a Bronx cheer. Back where his showbiz dreams began. He wasn't batting 1,000 then.
He did it!
Coming up. We continue with Regis Philbin, the Morning Maestro.
It was an unlikely and late rise to stardom for Regis Philbin, and in 2011 he took Katie Couric back to where it all started.
Regis is back! It's me, Regis. Make sure Regis is in focus. Yes, it's good to see Regis again.
You know what they say.
Hi, honey, how you doing?
You can take the boy out of the Bronx, but...
Hi, baby, how are you? How are things on Kruger Avenue? Do you miss me at all? Yes.
Around here,
God bless, man.
Regis is royalty.
This is now Regis Philbin Avenue. That's Regis Philbin. Look at, I love that guy.
And everywhere we went,
Hey, how you doing?
everyone loved seeing Regis.
Nice puppy.
Well, almost everyone.
Hi, baby. How are you? Want to play ball? Oh, yeah.
He was raised on Kruger Avenue during the Depression, on the bottom floor of a two-family home.
The house used to be right here.
Oh.
And here was where Regis sat in his baby carriage.
Really?
Take a look. Hey, Regis. Isn't he
Look
cute?
at that cute little
It's adorable, that
baby.
Regis.
So they paved Paradise and they put up the parking lot, huh?
Honest to God.
Regis says neither his dad, a first-generation Irish-American and Marine, nor his mom, an Italian-American full-time housewife, had any inkling of their son's guilty pleasure.
I was afraid to tell them that I used to stay in this house, 6 years old, tune in WNEW, which was the key radio station in New York City, and every night at 9:30, Bing Crosby would have a half hour of songs. I thought he was my friend after a while, and we had not a date, but it was time to spend 30 minutes with Bing every bloody night.
What were some of the songs?
Every time it rains, it rains. If you listen to the words, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven?
It wasn't until years later, on graduation day at his beloved Notre Dame, that Regis finally fessed up to his showbiz dream.
And I said, come on, Mom, I'm going to tell you now exactly what I'm going to do. And they were all excited. So we walked to the music hall, opened the door, and I sang Pennies from Heaven. And as I was singing, I could see my sainted mother, her eyes with tears in them.
But not tears of joy.
No tears of joy. And my father, a tough Irish guy who was a boxer, was a Marine, I could see that he wanted to punch me. I could see these things.
But back in the Bronx at Mac's Candy Store, he was a hit.
Demon, Guy Mitchell, he did them all.
And inseparable from childhood friends Ed the Tank Treratola and Tom Freakin' Finelli.
Freakin' Finelli.
We have nicknames for everybody.
Now, what you guys have to tell me, give me the dirt. What was Regis like as a kid?
Well, Regis, he was a sex maniac.
There wasn't much chance of that, especially since these former altar boys were always under the watchful eyes of the Sisters of Our Lady of Solace, who gazed from on high.
Sister Mary Francis.
Sister Mary Francis told me the nuns
Sister
stood
Mary
on
Mike.
the roof.
And watched. They watched every move we made.
Gave us hell the next day.
Now here's where Freakin' hangs out.
When they weren't hanging out at the candy store, they were at Conti's, a bakery that's been here for 90 years.
But how could the Bronx make the best Boston cream pie?
Oh, wait till you taste it. Please.
That's delicious.
And it's where Tank confessed he had some show business aspirations of his own.
Listen, he wanted to be the singer, I wanted to be a comedian.
We could have been Martin and Lewis if you listen. Right. You watch me, Katie Couric.
Martin maybe, but definitely not Mantle.
He did it! This is embarrassing for the Katie Couric.
All right, here we go. That's it for you, Katie.
So now you're ahead.
Yeah, you bet.
He then headed to his alma mater, Cardinal Hayes High School.
I think it had a great influence on me. And not only was it religious, but it was very disciplinarian as well.
And while he may have minded his P's and Q's, Regis admits he wasn't pulling A's and B's.
Well, I was not a great student. I really wasn't.
Average?
Yeah, average, just average, but I wanted to be Bing Crosby. Look at this over here.
And despite his passion for singing, he told us he never once graced the Cardinal Hayes stage, which ironically was named in his honor last year.
Don't tell me I don't think about it, and I've been in that auditorium a few times now, and I've told the father here what it was like for me to go in there, and they would have their own reviews and their plays and musical things, and here I was dying to, but I just thought, what is my talent?
What, you just didn't have enough self-confidence?
When I go, exactly.
I'd love
This
to
is the way
see
it
it.
looked like when I was a student. Go ahead, Bill.
The entire graduating class of 2012 decided to surprise their famous alum. Regis established a scholarship program here, making it possible for 5 students to attend Cardinal Hayes every year.
I just wanted to personally thank you for the help the scholarship that you had given my parents and myself. It has helped us significantly, and I just want to thank you for everything that you have done for me, for other students, and for the school in general. Thank you.
One thing that I'd like to pass on to all of you is what I told Katie outside. That how sorry I am that I didn't participate in something that I wanted to be a part of. Could have learned it here. And if any of you have any of those dreams, and you're doubtful that you have the ability or the talent to fulfill that dream, don't be frightened by it. Just dive in. So it thrills me to come back here. It thrills me to see all of you guys. I'm very proud of you, believe it or not. And pursue your dream. I know that's an old hackneyed saying in my business, but whatever you want to be, you're good enough to be. And you know why? Because you're a Hayes man. Thanks, guys.
Now that's a Bronx cheer.
Next.
The next clip I've put in the category of get it while you can.
Uh-oh. We're going to the screening room.
No, you kiss me over here.
The stories behind some of his favorite TV memories and yours.
Next!
When we return. Once again, Amy Robach. It's live with Regis and Kelly.
In 28 years, there have been snakes.
I'm not kidding. It's hurting my arm.
And shots.
Don't look at him.
The Macarena. And milking. Pies and pedicures.
Stop too close.
Stop it! You're making me nervous!
With thousands exclusive hours of merriment and just plain mayhem.
I just want to see.
Selecting some favorite moments is no easy task.
Isn't this nice?
But with a little popcorn, Katie Couric was up for the challenge.
Do I see popcorn?
Yep, popcorn.
Uh-huh.
We're going to take a little trip down memory lane here, Regis.
No, I hate memory lane.
No. We put together some clips from, I think, some of your favorite moments.
Okay.
One of them is that time you convinced Johnny Carson to give you a tour of the Tonight Show set.
A rare appearance for Johnny anywhere other than the Tonight Show.
Well, let's take a look at this tour.
Yeah.
This is very sweet.
I'm glad you picked this one. I think it's a great moment for me.
Hi, Johnny. Johnny, it's me, Regis.
You've been reduced to this?
Sure, you want to see Johnny Star? Come on. Got Johnny here, the king.
Boy, is this nice. And then you get sometimes you get the pencil.
Don't touch anything, Regis.
No. There's the clock right there.
Okay, Regis, time's up.
We just seem to hit it off just so well.
You had a little bromance with Johnny Carson.
He was one of the idols of our time.
Now we have a clip of your grandson, William Xavier, his first visit to the set of Live. This was in 2008.
Okay, you asked for him, and now here he
Nice
comes.
pants.
Parents, Mr. Why am I wearing red pants? Here's Mr. Trouble, William Xavier. Oh my God, look at him. Let's see how much William Xavier looks like his grandfather. Here we go.
Most grandparents have their little brag book with their photos of their grandkids, and you get to tell millions of people about your grandkid.
I don't want to make a pest out of myself.
I think people feel like you're a member of their family, don't you think?
I hope so. That's what the show really is all about.
Now, this was your first show after you'd gotten triple bypass surgery.
Yes.
And Dave came on. It was very funny.
Look, Regis, don't be a hero. If you need to lie down, Kelly and I, we can finish up here. This is good. A couple of heart patients. This isn't a TV show. This is a recovery room, ladies and gentlemen. As long as I've known Regis, he's always said yes. He's always been a friend. He's always helped when we needed him. He's always gone above and beyond. And I've always felt like the balance was completely out of whack.
After your bypass, did you suffer from depression at all? Because a lot of people do.
It gave me pause to think, you're not indestructible and you're not going to be around forever. Yeah, you're very thankful that you went through it and it worked out.
Now we've got some of my favorite clips, Regis.
Uh-oh.
And one thing I always admired about you was that you were always on the cutting edge of the latest technology. You helped introduce people to new gizmos.
See, I don't know if you're kidding or not.
And let's take a look.
Now there is a revolution in communications industry. Now you can send a card, a newspaper, a whole book on a fax machine for the price of a telephone call.
Rich, they've been around for a long time now. Why are you just now getting excited about fax machines?
Let me ask you something. How many people here heard about fax machines before this show?
Oh, embarrassing.
You did not! You're just doing that to aggravate me!
You have a cell phone, please?
Yeah, but I never use it. I
Really?
don't know what the number is.
Really?
Yeah.
But you use a computer, right, Regis?
No.
No? Really?
No. I don't.
Wow.
I need it. You gotta sit there and type something out on a computer. It's ridiculous. It really is, and you know it.
Okay. One thing I noticed as I took my little trip down your memory lane.
My memory lane.
You like to show off the bod, Regis.
Oh, no, I don't really. What is it? What are we watching here? I'm taking off my pants now? Oh, God. Long
Anything
socks.
for a laugh,
With
right,
the long
Regis?
socks. I still got the pants on my shoes. Somebody help Regis. Oh, my God. Stop with that.
Can you believe you did this? Oh, and just recently, Regis.
Oh, this is with Snoozy, whatever her name is.
Snooky.
And she's saying, take your shirt off.
Look at you.
Oh, for God. See what age does to you?
I think you look pretty darn good.
Oh, my.
You are the big 8-0, Regis, and look at you. Anyway. Next! All right, now, the next clip I put in the category of get it while you can.
Uh-oh. God only knows what this is. No, you kiss me over here. Oh, this is my old trick. Come on, Alicia.
You won't go to jail with
We'll make him real jealous. We'll make him real jealous. Regis's big thrill.
you and Alicia Keys, Regis.
They all come sooner or later to Regis.
Now we have a moment. The last big goodbye on live was when Kathy Lee left.
Oh, yeah.
And this is quite touching, I think.
Little song I wanted to sing to you that kind of sums up my feelings and all of my feelings about you. Thanks for the memory. You've been a lifelong pal. Boosted my morale. Got me enjoy a hefty discount. Cruising carnival. The room was small. Thanks for the memory of all the fun and tears through all the years and years. Our hosts chat every day. Now you're on your way. Forget it all, but please recall I love you so much.
So sweet. Next scene!
Next, from one millionaire maestro to another,
The Return of the King.
Regis's last TV interview with Jimmy Kimmel.
Regis, before we wrap it up, I have a question for $25,000.
Yeah. Some final answers when we return.
When Regis Philbin became the host of the first U.S. game show with $1 million top prize, his presence helped launch a phenomenon.
He just won a million.
And just this past March, in what would be his final television interview, he spoke to the host of the brand new version of the show and devoted fan, Jimmy Kimmel.
I was the one who made this years ago.
I remember.
You don't remember.
I do.
The King has returned. The Return of the King.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to see
Gosh, you look fantastic.
So do you.
How are you doing?
I wish I had that.
I could put one on you.
Oh, I bet you can.
Shall we take a look at the set?
Let's do it. Okay.
Well, Regis Philbin,
Look at this.
this is it.
They did it very well.
They did a nice job.
Nice
with
job,
it.
yeah.
It would make for a beautiful living room, I think, for someone. We've got the panels, chairs. We've got the questions.
Wow.
We've got the dollar signs. You've even still got the shiny tie, which makes me feel good.
That's right.
Yeah.
And look up there. That's a. Oh, and here too.
Yeah. You want to go sit? Shall we have a little chat? You look good, Regis. You're very trim.
Now, which one is you?
I think I'm over there, and you're right here.
Mark.
I'm very happy to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been actually years.
You don't call me anymore?
Well,
that tie is kind. Is that one of the classic Regis ties? Can we look at the back and see what's going on there?
yeah, here you go.
Oh, that says.
What is it?
I think it says Mario Cuomo on it. No, that is not a Regis tie. Yeah. So I imagine you must have a closet full of those.
I do. I really do.
Can I have one of them?
You're kidding.
Will you send me one?
I will.
Okay,
I
good.
will.
All right, and then I'll send you a shoe or something.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I could use that.
You built this house. This is.
I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of people and a lot of things that are here now.
It's like being inside a slot machine. Regis, no one will ever be better at doing this than you. No one, never.
Didn't seem too sure about that one, but you nailed it. Now, that's funny. Come on.
And I'm not just being false humble by saying that. It's true. You're the best. And that's why people love this show. I mean, it's a great game, but Regis is the reason. You really were such a great host of this show, thinking on your feet, making people feel comfortable, and really, more than anything, recognizing that this could be a life-changing experience for a lot of these people. Did you ever feel the gravity of that? Somebody coming in and winning or losing?
Well, yes, I did.
A huge amount of money?
A lot of them did that, too.
Yeah.
This is 21 years ago.
Right, that's a long time ago.
I loved doing the show. Final answer? Final answer? Is that your final answer?
When you're at a restaurant, or do they ask you if that's your final answer when you order something?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's gotten older. You know, nobody says that anymore.
People don't say it anymore. We love you, Regis.
You're a great guy.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, a legend on his legacy.
What I'll miss most after all these years is
When we come back.
In 2011, on the day before Regis's last morning co-hosting live, Katie Couric gave the preeminent TV host a little pop quiz.
So, Regis, the personnel department at the network asked me to conduct your exit interview. So let's get started, shall we?
Exit interview, okay.
To what extent do you agree or disagree with each of the following? 1, I had a clear understanding of my roles and responsibilities.
I agree with that.
I have the opportunity to enhance my job skills.
Well, of course, after 28 years, I think I did it a little better than before.
Finish these sentences. I'm the happiest when
I'm entertaining people.
I'm the most miserable when
Oh my gosh. When I feel like I haven't been successful in something I've undertaken. I really feel badly about it.
What worries me the most is
maybe having spent too much time working and not enough time enjoying life.
I hope to be remembered most for
17,000 hours in front of a television camera? Is that enough for you?
That works.
The definition of maestro is a master of an art. And Regis Philbin made his unique brand of television an art form all its own.
It's just the thought of you.
Tell me what you think Regis's legacy will be.
It's hard. It's hard to measure Regis's legacy because I still think of him as still here. I think that Regis's legacy is his contribution to humanity in terms of it's just okay to be yourself. And also, I think his love of people will also be his legacy. He just loved people, and he just wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to be a part of something, and he never let any of it go to his head. So I guess his ultimate legacy is his humility.
What I'll miss most after all these years is
the excitement of walking out, hearing some applause and knowing that the audience is there and they're on your side and they want to be entertained and you can do that for them. It's nice to know. The very thought of you,
चावल रत्ना दे असी माया टुर जाना तुसी मालक वतना दे असी माया टुर जाना असी माया टुर जाना तुसी मालक वतना दे लवे मोरोंदा तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे जे कोई तेरे जे आयो रोंदा तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे जे कोई तेरे जे आयो रोंदा खड़े उत्ते जा बैठा माया सी मेहमान जना डोला अखियां वेला बैठा आया सी मेहमान जना आया सी मेहमान जना डोला अखियां वेला बैठा हाल फकीरां दा दिल नूं वे चंगा लगदा एक माई कश्मीरां दा दिल नूं चंगा लगदा दिल नूं वे चंगा लगदा एक माई कश्मीरां दा सब चिलसा जिंदगी ते मेल चना रही जिंदगी ते फिर मिलसा जिंदगी ते मेल चना जिंदगी ते मेल चना रही जिंदगी ते फिर मिलसा खाली वे चाह पीती सोने लोकां ने दुनिया तबाह कीती सोने लोकां ने दुनिया तबाह कीती गड्डियां दे काले नी असी हुण टुर वचले तुसी रब दे हवाले नी असी हुण टुर वचले असी हुण टुर वचले तुसी रब दे हवाले नी कोई चावल रतना दे असी माया टुर जाना तुसी मालक वतना दे असी माया टुर जाना असी माया टुर जाना तुसी मालक वतना दे कोई कालवे मोरोंदा तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे जे कोई तेरे जे आयो रोंदा तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे तेरे पीछे कानू रुल दे जे कोई तेरे जे आयो रोंदा कड़े उत्ते जा बैठा आया सी मेहमान